Hello and welcome to our first session of Wisconsin Trustee Training Week. I'm Jamie Machik with the Nicolay Federated Library System in Green Bay, and also with me is Jean Anderson with the South Central Library System. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a great lineup of programs this week, and we're excited to kick it off with Marcy Heim, who is the founder of the Artful Ask LLC based in Madison. Marcy has 23 years of firsthand major gift fundraising and management experience at the University of Wisconsin Foundation. At the foundation, she and her team raised millions of dollars by creating genuine relationships and with some of the things that she's going to talk about today. She also managed her own major gifts portfolio while leading her unit through 3 successful comprehensive campaigns, including the $1.8 billion Create the Future campaign. Her first book, Empowering Your Board to Serve as Effective Development Ambassadors, is a popular guide for major gift success. And her goal is to inspire all those in development to have rewarding careers and joy-filled lives. So enough of me talking. Marcy, whenever you're ready, go on and get started.
All right. Hello and welcome, everybody. I am delighted to be back talking with you folks in the library system. I know that some of you may remember I've been at some of the library conferences and had a chance to be in person interacting with you. And while I love being face-to-face, if you will, when we can all be together, I'm really excited about this opportunity, and I'm going to be very transparent with you. Today we are trying something online that we've never tried before, and we'll actually write and speak asks right during our call today. So I'm thankful that it's with you folks who I know, and I know will jump in and make the most of our experience together. And I've already decided that we're going to have an incredible experience together. And I'm going to spend just a minute talking about our mindset overall as part of our agenda this morning, and then briefly touch on why people give and the words we use, the cycle of successful relationships. I want to place what we're doing today within the overall structure of what we're doing. I don't want you to think, hi, Joe, how about $1 million? You know, that's certainly not how we do this, that there's a whole relationship build that comes into this. But today we are focusing in on this one particular piece, that is making that artful ask. And that's a piece of our whole work that can sometimes be a little bit scary. And I want you to never, ever, ever forget that sometimes when people kind of go, oh, I wonder what this is about, or you feel that body language, or they sort of sit back or cross their arms a little bit, or oh, what's this going to be? I'll bet this is about money. When you feel some of those vibes, understand that sadly, and this hurts my heart, my friends, that each and every day a lot of really bad fundraising work goes on, really bad. And here you look at this fella, he's at the door, and she's standing there with her tin can, and she says, what's the cause? Can't you just give? Must there always be a cause? Now, I hope you're chuckling a bit, and this is obviously a bit of sarcasm, but part of why I launched my own business was because I wanted to have the flexibility to spend more time with my mom when she was in the final years of her life. And sadly, this is something that happened almost on a weekly basis, that somebody would knock on her door, and the intimidation factor of these folks to my mom was something that was just unbelievable. And I want you to know and keep in mind that you will never do this. I know you will never do this, but that the same people you're talking to may have had an experience that wasn't real nice, where somebody tried to bully them into giving or guilting them into giving, and it doesn't work. But they don't know that you're different. And sometimes when you really feel somebody kind of pulling back, it's helpful to say, talk to me about a recent experience you've had involved with a nonprofit, or talk to me about the time that you supported an organization that made you the happiest and most fulfilled and most satisfied. And tell me about a time when maybe it wasn't so comfortable. What happened then? And you may learn you need to spend a little bit of time building trust. I think it's summed up best by Maya Angelou, who we lost last year, and is somebody that I knew personally and so cared about and respected. And she said, "You want to compose a good world. It's an honorable and noble profession." And I suggest to all of you out there that what you are doing each and every day in your library work, in your missions, and in talking to people about supporting the good work of the libraries is composing this good world and is an honorable and noble profession. And if there's anything I took away from my 20-plus years working at the foundation, it's that my success was not really about I wrote the best letter, or I was the cleverest person saying this or that, or I had the projects that were most attractive. Some of them were pretty strange. We had a project once synchronizing estrus in ewes. Enough about that. But anyway, I found that really what was key to my success was the way I thought about what I was doing. And this comes way back to a cassette. Now, some of you out there remember cassettes with me, a cassette, not an 8-track. And anyway, the cassette was of a 78 recording. I'm really throwing back now, and some of you are going to be, what is she talking about? 78, 33, 45. These were records of a talk given by Earl Nightingale called The Strangest Secret. This recording was the first spoken recording to sell 1 million copies in 1957. And in this recording, he told us the key to success and the key to failure. And it is, we become what we think about. We become what we think about. The biggest challenge is we don't always realize what we're thinking. And when it comes to creating this world, creating this good world, composing this good world and our honorable and noble profession, sometimes we have some beliefs that surround this whole idea of raising support that can get in our ways. So I want to spend a little time with this and understand that these beliefs can help us move forward in securing support for our libraries, or they can be a major obstacle. And I want you to say with me on your phones, right where you are now, some declarations about raising major gifts. Say with me as they're in front of you, my cause is worthy of people's investments. We are a sound and accountable organization. Let me speak to that a minute. Never before has it been more important to really know where our dollars come from and how they're spent. And people want to be reassured that they're being used wisely and used honestly and ethically. I'm sure you all sadly have a story of a situation in your area where maybe there's been some embezzling or some mismanagement of funds. So it's so important that our board members, our trustees, our staff understand our budgets, where those dollars come from and where they go, and that we take the time to put systems in place to be sure there's always two folks involved when it comes to dollars. Number 3 here, we make a difference, and I'm proud of what we do. It's impossible to secure support for our organizations without that passion. We must be proud of what we do and know we make a difference. The next one, by giving to my organization, my donors experience the joy of philanthropy. It feels great. My friends, do you know that giving time, dollars, but especially dollars, triggers those same natural opiates in our body, those same great feel-good chemicals that eating chocolate does, that working out does? Truly, giving creates joy physically and mentally for us. And we are conduits to helping people experience that joy. The next one, I delight in hearing about gifts, stay with me, to other organizations. You know, we want to celebrate philanthropy. We want to celebrate generosity. We want to celebrate investing in our communities. And certainly a library is that key our library here in Fitchburg is that key community center, that place where people come together to learn, to be educated, to feed their want and desire to learn. As you can tell, I'm a huge library fan. But there are other things that people are excited about supporting. Their church, their healthcare organization, the puppies and kittens, the Boys and Girls Club, lots of different opportunities for them to invest. And we want to know, we want to be sure that they know that we're delighted with all of their giving. We just hope that that part of their giving will include us. Then the next one, I love to give to my organization myself. I'd encourage each and every one of you on the call to consider a gift that's meaningful and significant for you. No token giving, please. Really think about what's a bit of a stretch for you and that makes you feel invested and vested with your libraries. People love to give me money. Now, some of you are smiling, I'm sure, but think about it. When I went out and had the privilege and opportunity to work with the donors I worked with for all of those years and still today, I walk into these experiences thinking, I know that people enjoy investing. That's where I come from. People give money to me, through me, to my organization. I am the link to their investment and the joy of generosity. Let's talk a minute now about how you feel about money. Ooh, money. Answer these questions for me, and I've asked now if, and I don't have my chart up here, but I've asked if Jamie will help me, if you'll chat in. Money is the root of all. How are they finishing those sentences? Chat in.
I'm seeing evil, evil, evil.
Yep. Evil is what it is. Now, one of the most misunderstood passages from the Bible, it's actually the love of money is the root of all evil. And friends, that means that when it doesn't matter how we get that money, that's when it becomes evil. And that really goes back to how I began by saying it's not about guilt or strong-arming people. It's about sharing our joy for investing in the right cause. And that's when money is not evil, where it's absolutely delightful. Money doesn't grow on, what are you seeing, Jamie?
I'm seeing a lot of trees, 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 trees.
A lot of trees. Money doesn't grow on trees. So now what's interesting here is none of you got these answers ahead of time. Part of why I've put this out there is because I want you all to see and realize that you had this stuff in your heads without me ever bringing it up. So that means that there are, in fact, some opinions that we all are carrying around with us, some messages in our heads that we hardly even know are there. Not everyone can be rich. There's not.
I have enough money in the world.
Yep, there's not enough. There's this lack mentality. We're going to run out. There's not going to be enough. We better hang on to this. In versus an abundant activity. And I'm not sure how many of you have experienced this, but isn't it interesting how sometimes the more we give, the more that we seem to receive, even though we're not giving to get. And that's truest probably in organizations that tithe. People will tell me, I started out pledging to give 10%. And I'm just finding this abundance in my life, and I'm able to give even more. There is an abundance out there, and our donors come from a place of abundance. So we need to be sure we don't talk to them from a lack mentality. The next one, if I get rich, I'll lose my...
I see shirt, passion, friends, another shirt, soul.
Yep, and there I see friends and soul most often. And oh, that's sad because that's equating rich with something bad, and that's really, truly not true. It's again this kind of mindset, and I loved my parents. They were amazing people, not to take anything away from my upbringing, but we were raised at a time when We were made to feel like there was something kind of dirty or icky about money, just not true, or being rich, just not true. I'm sure you all know some amazingly wonderful rich people. And what I like to say is, you know, there's some people that if they were jerks when they were poor, they're jerks when they're rich. And if they were kind, wonderful people when they were poor, they're kind, wonderful people when they're rich. People are people. The money doesn't really change them. Being rich doesn't change them. The next one, blank rich.
I'm seeing filthy, stinking, very filthy.
Yep, and that is that filthy rich. And just think about going into a call and saying, hi, Joe, I'm Marcy, and I'm here today to talk to you about some things we have going on in the library, and you're filthy rich, so I'm going to see if I can hit you up for some money. That's a great conversation to have. And even if we're not actually saying it, if that's what we're thinking, how can that not come through in our presence and in the feeling we bring to the room? Be blank with what you have.
Be smart, happy, content. I'm seeing a lot of happies.
Happy. Yep, be happy with what you have. Now, I am the #1 cheerleader for gratitude. My husband and I begin every day with, what am I grateful for today? What am I grateful for today? And I think gratitude is the core behind living a happy life, is being grateful for what you have. That's a little bit different than saying, you know, be happy with what you have, dear, in a sense that says don't strive for more. I want you all to have big dreams and big visions for your library, because dollars come to big visions. People give to vision. People give to big visions. People give where they can make a difference. You must work blank to earn a blank.
I'm seeing you must work hard to earn a living, hard to earn a dime, hard to earn a buck.
Yep.
A lot of hard in living.
A lot of hard. Oh, my gosh, it's hard, hard, hard. Struggle, struggle, struggle. There is. That's another one of those limiting beliefs we have that I'd like to bust out of your minds. And again, all of this stuff was in your heads. I didn't put it there. We've all got this, and we've got to realize it's there. It's so important to spend a little bit of time realizing some of the mindset limitations we bring to this. It's a joy to raise dollars. I want you to consider that when we focus on doing the most important things, we get an incredible amount done in a shorter amount of time. So let's talk a little bit about why people give. There have been surveys after survey after survey after survey over years, and they span decades, in fact, hundreds of years. And first and foremost, people give because they believe in your mission, always because they believe in your mission. That is the #1 reason why people will tell you they are giving. And what that tells us is if someone doesn't resonate with our mission, all of the fancy proposals, all of the trying to get Joe to talk to them because they can't turn down Joe, all of that kind of stuff is really a poor investment of your time. They need to come from a place where they believe in your mission. Now, you've got to always, though, ask yourself, do they know our mission? Because someone may have a view of libraries that's very different than what libraries are today. Someone may not have a clue all of the different things you folks do at and with your libraries. So mission may not mean, be sure to not assume is what I want to say here. Don't assume they understand all the good work you do. And that's why they're not involved. It's not that they don't believe in your mission. It's that they don't understand your mission. They don't understand what you do. But look what comes in at #2. Their ask. In some way, shape, or form, and I'm going to tell a short little story on a library. There was a library that said, gosh, if we just, Marcy, had enough crayons to cover all the kids that come in for our story hour, small library. And I said, well, do people know you need crayons? Well, I'm not sure. So I said, just pop a sign up on the counter that says, needed, crayons for the story hour. And I talked to her a week or so later, and she said, Marcy, I've got so many crayons, I hardly know what to do with them. And really teasingly, I said, well, take down the sign. The point here is that people can't help you with what they don't know you need. And so at some point we have to ask them. We have to let them know what we need. They're asked. The third reason people give, and I already alluded to this earlier, that they believe you're stable and ethical, that they believe that an investment in you will be used the way you say it will be used. And this also comes back to that whole idea of trust. Do I trust them? Do I trust them that they will do what I say? And sadly, the latest research out of the Center of Philanthropy in Indiana shows us that only 1 in 10 people believe that contributions or donations are used for which the purpose with which they were given. That's a sad state of affairs, and it's something we need to know, to keep in mind, and to just know that, you know, there are a lot of reasons for that, and I don't want to get off on that. Sometimes we hear about the bad, we don't always hear about the good, you know. There are those things, but keep in mind that being stable and ethical and reassuring people their gift will be used as they directed it is so important. Third, to honor someone or something. This has been something I'm sure you're all familiar with, to pay tribute to their parents or somebody in the community they highly respect, or to celebrate a special anniversary. But in honor of someone or something is a marvelous way that inspires people to give. They give to extend their values, not your values, their values. And sometimes it can be a little frustrating when we're passionate about our libraries and we just can't understand why everyone doesn't feel the same way. Well, they don't. And it's not our place to judge. No judgment here. Their values are not wrong or right. They're their values. And when their values align with ours, that's where the magic happens. Now, the next one is important to all of you. It's the high regard they have for staff and volunteer leadership. You can never take off your library hat. When you're at Kelly's Bar and Grill, when you're at the soccer game, wherever you are, you always represent your library. You always represent your library. They're in the library, they're out the library. You always represent your library. And how people feel about you, the service you provide, and the way you live your life is a key influencer in what they choose to invest in. It's very personal. The people give finally to belong, to get a sense of community. And I think there that libraries are a golden opportunity for people to invest in their communities. I want to spend just a few quick minutes. Where am I for time here? Okay, I want to just spend a few quick minutes on the words we use. And I realize I'm talking to folks involved with libraries, so you know that words are a container of power. And the words we use are so powerful. You appreciate this. But just please, let's eliminate words like, let's hit up Joe, let's put the arm on, they're loaded, they should give, they ought to give, they owe us. Pick the low-hanging fruit. You know, the low-hanging fruit are those people who already support us, who already trust us, who already have faith in us. Hi, Alice, thanks for meeting with me today. You know, you're low-hanging fruit, and I'm here to pick you. And I want to let you know that never are these words appropriate, not back in the office, not to a donor. Sometimes people say, well, yeah, you know, to a donor, I'd never say that. Well, who wants a friend or an associate or anyone in their life that talks differently about them to their face versus behind their back? Think about it. Instead, we want words like dream, make a difference, gift, consider, impact, hope, meaningful. What do you think? Possibilities. And even some of our fundraising terms like prospect, suspect, follow up. I'm going to pitch you. I'll close you. Jane, I'm here today to talk to you about the libraries. And today you're just a suspect. But if I decide you have enough money and enough interest, well, then I'm going to move you to being a prospect. At that point, I'll follow up with you on my strategy to move you until the pitch. Then I'll close you. Yeah, okay. I'd rather have words like giver, perspective giver, stay in touch, keep you informed. I have planned touches that I want to make as part of your relationship with us. I want to inspire you. Let's explore a partnership. I'd like to invite you to invest. Qualify shared values and interests. So you see I have new words for those words. But bottom line, it's more than the words. You have to mean them. You simply have to mean them. We all can smell and feel a fake 100 miles away. We need to mean them. And more than how fancy or smooth our words are, is our passion and our genuine caring. Because people give from their hearts, not from economics. When the need is recognized, the heart moves the hand. One definition of philanthropy that I want you to hear is philanthropy is the mystical mingling of a joyous giver, an artful asker, and a grateful recipient. And Doug Lawson said this. He's a mentor and a colleague of mine. And to me, those words really fit on what I call the cycle of successful relationships. And in this, we consider shared values and interests. Over here on the far left of the screen. And I brought up before that first and foremost, people give because they believe in your mission. So the first thing you do, whether you're talking to somebody about $10 or $10 million, is you've got to have that match, explore with them whether they share the values of the library, whether that's an interest to them. Then you must start that conversation. Then we get when we know they share or they have an interest, then we have this wonderful opportunity to create a joyful giver. And that's done through 6 to 9 meaningful visits or whatever. 6 to 9 is a guide. And this is more when people are making a more major gift. To move them, to guide them from considering a gift to the point where you can speak an ask to them that's artful. And sometimes when you speak that ask, they say, well, yes, but, or not sure, but. That's not no. That's simply just saying we need to go back here and spend a little bit more time creating that joyful giver. Rarely will they just say, no, I'm not interested, if you've spent some time engaging them. Rarely do I hear no. And oftentimes, when you make that artful ask, they will say yes. Then we have the most important part of our cycle, and that's properly thanking people and letting them know that impact their giving has. Remember I said only 1 in 10 believe their gifts are used for the purpose for which they were given? Well, here's where that comes in, is getting back in touch with them and saying, Henry, I just want you to know you gave us those dollars to help us with our purchase of the new periodical collection or the new DVD series, and it's come in today and it's in the library. Stop on down and take a look. Thank you for your gift for that use. Right? They know it's happened. And the funny thing is that when you're a grateful recipient, that gratitude again, when you're a grateful recipient, when you make them so darn pleased that they have invested in your library, when they're so excited about what their dollars are doing because you've stayed in touch with them, surprising things happen. And that is they quickly start saying, that's terrific. What else can I do? What else is there? How else can I be involved? How can I help more? Best story, I took a student out to see an older woman who had given some scholarship support once. And when I called to set up the call, I said to her, the visit, I said to her, now, I want to bring John out to meet you. He was one of your recipients. And she said, oh, that would be wonderful. Does he need some more money? I said, no, we just want to thank you. And through the course of a lifetime with a donor, this is really important, we go around and around this cycle. Their first gift may be $50 to help with something outright that your library needs right now. We ask them to consider a gift to support our operations. We say, thank you properly. They know what's going on. They are interested again, and we begin the cycle again. And given our limited time today, I can't spend a lot of time here, but just simply to say to you that consider this, that the smaller the gift, generally, the more quickly we go around the cycle. The larger the gift, the more time it takes. Now, that should make sense to you. So if I'm asking somebody to consider $100 to purchase a piece of equipment for the library, I can tell them why the equipment's important. I can show them some results. I can visit with them about what difference that equipment would make for us, and I can say, and that might all happen in one visit. And then I'd say, would you consider a gift of $100 to help us get this piece of equipment? And they say, you bet. And then I say, wow, this is what we did with this equipment, and that might be a letter and a follow-up phone call I do, and I remind them, or when I see them, I say thank you, and pretty soon they're saying, what else is there? But if I'm talking to them about a $5,000 gift or a $10,000 gift, it will most likely take more time between here and here for them to get all of their questions answered and to really understand how their gift will be used and the impact it will have. So it'll take me longer to come around to the point where I could say, would you consider a gift of $10,000 to support X? Does that make sense? And then I'm often asked after they make a gift, when is it right to ask again? Well, as we're saying thank you, I will say to you, they will tell you. Because as we're telling them about the impact their giving has, if we have 2 ears open and 1 mouth shut, we will hear them say, this has really been something I've enjoyed. What's going on now? They will give us clues that they're ready to talk to us about being engaged again. Okay, so today we're focusing in on, where am I here? Today, yes, good. Today I'm focusing in on just the path between here and here, creating that joyful giver and making that ask. And so just to quickly review, they agree on the value of our mission. So we've said that. They're over here. They share our mission. They agree with the vision of our leadership. Giving requires that engagement to where the place is going. What do you seek down the road? What is your vision for the future? They see private support as needed to help have this happen. So one special opportunity the libraries have to address is, no, the city doesn't fund us. Know that the city council, they might be a player, they might be a partner, but 100% of our support doesn't come from tax dollars or city coffers. Private support is an integral component of making our libraries work. So they need to understand that piece. That happens as we go around this piece. We have a relationship built on trust, and we've talked through their concerns they have about giving methods in the project. This is a bit of a factor on how large the gift is, but the larger the gift, the more they need to understand. They could pay it perhaps over time. You know, those kinds of details become more important in larger gifts than smaller gifts. But sometimes for people, even for $500, they may say, could I give this to you as a monthly contribution instead of one check? So we always want to be open to talking to them about how it works best for them. We've talked about different specific components and giving levels and found a project that accomplishes their dream. This is the most important part, is the more we are able to let donors invest in those specific pieces of our library that resonate most with them, be it maybe children's programming, maybe it's acquisition, maybe it's the facilities. They come in and they say, gosh, this bathroom, well, let's talk about that. Maybe it's the staff. Maybe they realize that this library doesn't function without the great folks you have working here. How can I make sure that we can keep them? But you've talked about the different levels, and you let people find the spot that really talks to their passion for giving. So here are the major issues in asking, and we're not going to cover all of these today. I do want to let you know that if you go to my website, www.marcyheim.com, M-A-R-C-Y-H-E-I-M as in Mickey Mouse, M.com, you can sign up for my electronic newsletter, and in doing so, you get Chapter 6 of my book, which outlines the entire cycle and gives you kind of this whole talk around the cycle, and that might be a nice complementary piece for you to have. In the book, I can address all these, but in our short time today, I want to just focus in on a few because I really want to get to actually speaking that ask. And review the cycle to date. What I mean by that is whenever you're going to start to talk about somebody who you'd like to present an ask to, first you want to look back and say, what is their history with us? How long have they been involved with the library? Do we know what they like to give to? Have they given in the past and kind of shown us by where they invest what they're interested in? Does a husband and wife make their giving decisions together? Is one more than the other, more involved in the library? Do they like to be real involved here? Are they volunteers at the library? Do they like to be real public about their giving? Are they the kind of folks that would just as soon be kind of more behind the scenes? How do they like to be thanked? How do they like to be recognized? How do they have folks within the library that they particularly resonate with? Do they have favorite staff? All of those kinds of things. What do we know now about them as we look forward? Then we need to spend a little time figuring out when is that timing right. And with this, I always say it's the second Tuesday of every month at 2 p.m. That's when you speak your ask. I hope some of you are laughing or smiling. Of course not. That right timing is really about listening and getting a sense when they know what we're talking about and looking for, and we've gotten some signals from them that this is an appropriate thing to talk about. And I want to say there that just don't worry yourselves about it's not right yet, because most people would like to know what you're thinking about and be able to react to it and to talk back and forth about it. And if you look at making an ask as a piece of that relationship and not, oh gosh, if they say no, that's it. I'm done. They've turned me down. Life has stopped. No, it's not. Remember when I showed you that cycle? It just means maybe, and we've got to go back and explore a little bit more how to tweak what we're talking about so it better fits their passion. So don't use worrying about not being perfectly set, whatever that means, as ready, aim, 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 and aim, and aim, and aim, and never fire. Speak those asks and look at that as part of the process. What's the right amount? We'll spend a little more time on that. Who makes it? I think it's the person that I like to defer to staff to actually speak those asks, and not so much volunteers. I think it's awkward for them and a little less comfortable for them. But boy, I want those volunteers or those trustees or those board members right by my side and saying, this is why I give. This is why I think that's important. This is how your dollars will be used. I know this is a sound and accountable organization because I sit on the board of trustees and I know where the money goes. I want that volunteer by my side in this ask. This is why I give. This is what I give to. But I'll be the one to say, would you consider? Where's the ask made? That's just wherever they're absolutely most comfortable. I promise to go into just a touch more about how much we ask for. And as we go around that corner, we talk to them about what is most important here is about the dollars to accomplish a certain impact. And then listen, listen, listen. And to review costs of today. Don't assume that people know how much things cost, my friends. A quick story. We were playing, I also have a band, and we were playing a performance for the 50th class reunion of Madison East High School out at Tacoma Country Club a few weeks back. And they wanted me to learn a special song. And she brought me a piece of sheet music to learn, to help with the band, which is great. And I looked at that sheet music, and that sheet music cost 60 cents. And I just said, I don't believe this. 60 cents. sheet music now is anywhere between $4 and $6 for one piece of sheet music. And she looked at me and said, what? And I said, do you know how much sheet music costs today? And she said, you know, I haven't bought it in years. No, I don't know. They don't know what things cost today at the libraries. You have to help them understand that. And then to not be afraid to talk about an amount that might seem like a stretch for you. Rarely have I found anyone as offended. More, they're flattered that you think this is something they could do. And I've addressed this already, that I think that the development professional or the staff speaks the ask with the rest helping them. Okay, let's get to, here we go. Let's get to exactly that ask. What is that ask about? And I want you to hear this. After 30-some years of being involved in this profession, I still write out and practice each and every ask I make. I don't just hope I'm going to show up at the meeting and it's going to tumble out of my mouth right. It's too important for that. It's something that makes people nervous, so I want to be sure I don't, blah, 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 blah. I want to know what I'm going to say. Plus, if I have you as a trustee or you as a board member or another staff member with me, they too are very clear on what we're going to ask, so they can be comfortable with it. And here's my little recipe for it. I start out by bestowing honor or praise. Again, note, this is sincere. This isn't, oh, what would we do without you? You're so wonderful. No, this is Gladys. You have been a force to reckon with for this library for the last 20 years. Or, Jim, you have always been there for this library. Or, Pete, you were instrumental in helping us get this addition built. Or whatever it is. And then the second thing is a special connection or pride with the organization. If you're asking somebody for something and you can't connect the dots between why you're asking them for this particular project, they can't connect the dots either. So if I'm trying to think of a non-library dot connection. If there's somebody who doesn't like to read, doesn't listen to music, just doesn't do anything at all with any of the things that happen in a library, and you're trying to say you understand the important role a library plays, and they're like, nope, don't get it. Well, that's the wrong person to be asking. Instead, you should know why you're talking to that person. And in your ask, you say that. You're considerate, and you ask for their consideration. If you learn nothing else from this call this morning, would you consider? Would you consider? Would you consider? And then I believe in stating a specific amount, a specific purpose, and then afterwards respect the person you're talking to enough to be quiet. Ask and then be quiet. Let them hear it. Even if you have talked about it, when you actually speak that ask, it's very different. Think about, for the ladies on this call, if in fact you're married, when your then fiancés proposed to you, you probably had an inkling that at some point you were going to get married and this ask was coming. But when they actually said, Marcy, will you marry me? Whoa. You just wanted a minute to let that question settle. Let the question settle. Let that ask settle. So here, look at this ask. Joe, we know you got a lot of money. Your career as CEO of the Jones Company is thanks to some help you received from one of the other members of the board. He's given $50,000 and thinks you should too. Don't shut on your donors. We need your money because of increasing costs and budget cuts. Oh, poor us. We're getting cut. We don't have the same amount of budgeting. Oh, poor us. We're victims. Oh, so how about some help? You get a whopping tax deduction. We can all use that, can't we? When I heard this ask, this was a call I was on, I realized that somebody had just spoken the perfect ask for everything you should never do. Never do. Never do. You would never talk to somebody about the reason you're there talking to them is because they got a lot of money. You would never talk about guilt or badgering somebody. Well, you know, you got some help from one of our board members. He's giving this, and he thinks you should too. You know, should give, ought to give. You owe us. We need your help. We're victims. Oh my gosh, we're victims. Poor us. Not. We are these brilliant libraries that do so much in the community, invest in our success, and said, oh, poor us, I'm wringing my hands, I don't know what we'll do without your money. You know, people don't want to invest in a sad, blame-ridden victimship. Ugh. Ugh. Do you? It's all about some help. You know, there's no specific amount or program. You get a tax deduction. You'll notice in my list about why people give, tax deduction wasn't even on it. We can all use that, can't we? So this is Terrible Ask. All right, let's get past it. Here, my friends, before you start, deep breath. Joe, you have been instrumental to our success in creating and expanding our garden project. You understand, in addition to the beauty, what an important teaching tool this is for us. Would you consider a gift of $50,000 to establish the Joe Smith Garden Outreach Program Endowment? So now I want to quickly go through my time here. I want to quickly go through some sample asks and for operations or annuals. So remember, the formula is you have, you understand, would you consider. So you have seen the role adequate resources play in the life of our library. You understand that having staff and resources to provide this important piece is vital to our service. Would you consider a gift of $1,000 to help support our staff and activities? Yours could be more specific. Sometimes an endow an annual gift. Somebody's been giving you an annual gift for a long time. You talk to them. You've been such a very good friend of and supporter of our library. You understand the importance of this project. Would you consider a gift of $20,000 so that the gift you've been making each year will be there to provide support to those we serve for years and years to come? You would know the specific situations. Sometimes they're major donors, and you want to talk to them about operations or annual giving. You have been a part of our organization's family for so long and know us so well. You have. You understand our vision and how key having resources to embrace opportunities is for us. Would you consider a gift of $1 million to create our Library Opportunities Endowment? You have a current annual fund or volunteers. You have helped us do our good work. You understand that having this piece of equipment, this staff position, this educational training, these tools empowers us to do or to have, depending on what, you know, this to do or to have, this impact, the mission. Would you consider a gift of $1,000 to help do? Okay, so now it's your turn. And please sit down and think about, we've got 10 minutes left. Please take a minute to think of your own libraries and something you want to ask for, and use this formula. Their name, you have, a compliment or their past service or their giving. You understand. Now remember, this first line is not a thank you. You've given us so much money, thank you, thank you, thank you. No, no, no. You've thanked them earlier in the call. This is just your ask. So the you have in terms of giving would be more, you know, you've been a rock-solid supporter of us since our inception, or something that's more of a thought and not so much the thank you for their specific gifts. You understand. Why are you talking to them about this ask? Would you consider a gift of X to do X, and then be quiet? So would somebody please take a stab at this and try to chat it in?
Okay, this is Jamie. As Marcy just said, Marcy, could you go back to your former slide so they can?
Yep, I hit the wrong button. I was trying to find the chat box, and I'm not able to get to it, but that's okay.
Okay. So if a few of you wouldn't mind taking a stab at this, we did build in some time for this, and if you could share it.
I'm trying to see my chat box. That's all I'm trying to do. I don't know where it went.
You're fine. So if you wouldn't mind sharing what you are writing, we have Marcy here, and she'd be happy to listen to what you've written down and perhaps provide some critique on maybe how you could improve your ask. While they are writing, a question came in, Marcy. Marcy, do you have examples of scripts or letters on your site to help with asking?
You know, I don't. That's a good question, though, and I hope that, I'm not sure when you asked that question, but I hope these last few slides gave you some of those examples, and we are working out that you'll get my slide deck. So I would start with these, because these will give you the overall formula, and they'll also give you 4 to 5 samples that I put together that you can fill in the blank and go with this formula of you have, you understand, and would you consider a gift of blank for blank. And I think that if you use these slides, that will help you, but that's not on my site. Excellent question. And I want to also point out here that I have used the same simple 3-sentence ask for a gift of $100 and also for a gift of $25 million. And the gift of $25 million was still, you have, you understand, would you consider?
Wow.
When it came down to that ask, it was exactly and precisely this formula, and they said yes.
Great. I'm going to relay another question to you that came in, Marcy. Are you suggesting that personal phone call or contacts are the most important element to success?
Oh, wonderful question. And here I'm going to suggest that I'm going to answer that 2 ways. When it comes, the first way is yes. I think that when we can talk and interact with people and see their reactions and hear their voice changes and see their body language, that it gives us the best opportunity for authentic relationship building. Having said that, I think it's important to stay in touch with as many of your, with all of your donors, and those touches can take on all kinds of forms. They can be phone, they can be email, they can be a printed newsletter that's mailed out, they can be a letter, a snail mail letter, they can be a postcard, they can be events, all of those different kinds of touches. And then the third element to put into this is to realize that we're all unique personalities. So if somebody is really energetic and really excited, I get really excited with them. And if somebody is much more calm and speaks more slowly, I try to also adopt more of their personality, because I don't want anything in my personality to get in the way of the relationship I'm trying to build with them.
Okay. One more question came in that I'd like to ask you, because I think it's applicable to a lot of libraries. I'm interested in how to write a lovely thank you note to someone who, out of the blue, just sends a check to our library for $100. We don't know the donor, but would like to cultivate the relationship before asking for more.
Excellent. Yes, and you're spot on with that. Yes, yes, yes. Being that grateful recipient, as you looked around my cycle, being that grateful recipient is indeed going to first off, let me say this. Thanking them is something you need to do because it's the right thing to do. You don't do it because it goes to the next gift. It does, but that's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because the donor deserves to enjoy the giving, and I heard that in what you said. And then the other thing is that I really believe in being authentic. And I think that this letter, if it started out by saying, what a joyful day it was for me when I when I received your kind letter and your generous gift. I would start out with that. Thank you so much for investing in the blah, blah library. And then I would go into a little bit more about, the important work, maybe a couple of quick, and don't say as you know. That is so condescending. They may not know, and that makes them feel stupid. So to say something like, over 200 people walk through our library every month, or over 200 people visit our library every month, or something like that, or we're delighted to be able to touch the lives of so many people in our community, and your support helps us stay vibrant and vital here in our community. And then I would offer a chance to connect more with them by saying something like, you say you don't know the person, and you also perhaps don't know. I don't know if they're in the area or not, but I would try to do something that gives you, each connection should lead to the next connection. So I would have this letter say something like, if they're in your area, I would say something like, we would be delighted to have you visit the library and let us show you, our new X, Y, or Z, and I'll give you a call to arrange this. So you want to meet with them personally. That's the kind of the goal of this, because you want to be able to assess more accurately what their interest is, what specific interests they have, and what their capacity might be through a visit. And if they're not in the area, you might say, here's some piece that we have, or a new, I don't know, if there's something tangible you can mail out, or a link to something. Here's something new the library is doing we thought you'd enjoy. I'll phone you in a few weeks to make sure you've received this, or that you can make the link work, or whatever. But you want to be sure your letter ends with, here's what's coming next. And I also like the phrase, I promise to, okay? So if I'm writing this, I'll say, I promise I'll connect to be sure you've received, you've received whatever you're sending. And so that makes it more fun when you reconnect to be able to say, as promised, I'm calling you. And it just sort of makes it more likely that the person on the other end will be receptive to your call. But you're spot on that, especially the larger the gift, the more personal one-to-one. The smaller the gift, the more you can handle it in letters and the things that are less personal.
Great. We have about 5 minutes left, Marcy, and an example did come through, so I'm going to read it. This is from Kathy. It says, Walter, you have been instrumental in making our library addition and renovation a reality. You understand that the future of our library is being able to be a gathering place and a place to find information. Would you consider a gift of $10,000 for making the entrance to our library inviting?
Okay. I loved her first sentence, and the middle sentence got a little wonky because read the middle sentence to me again.
You understand that the future of our library is being able to be a gathering place and a place to find information.
Okay. So I would change that middle sentence to read, you understand the and you can work with this a little bit, work with me on this, but something like, so he has already been a supporter of additions, so he gets physical projects, physical facilities. The first sentence was great. The second sentence needs to relate more directly to the ask for the entryway. So something like, you understand that a welcoming entryway, or you understand that a welcoming, or you understand that that a welcoming, that first impressions and welcomes are so vital to bringing people into our library. Would you consider a gift of? So I just want that middle sentence to relate a little bit more to that specific ask. It kind of drifted off into resources and other things. Instead of staying right in there. That would be my suggestion. Otherwise, excellent. That was great.
Great.
Yes, woohoo!
Do you want to finish your slides?
Sure, I will. And you know what else? I would like to have the name of the person who sent that in. I'll send him a gift.
Oh, okay. I will do that after the presentation. Thank you.
Okay, so what are the common pitfalls we make in the ask? We talk too much. You know, we're so passionate about what we're doing. Did I tell you this? Did I tell you that? Blah, 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 blah. We do this, and we do this, and we do this, and the person is going, ha, 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 right? We just get too carried away, or we use those words like should or ought to, or it sounds cold, or well, you know, I'm sorry to have to ask you this, but we really could, you know, use some money. The eye contact breaks down. It's just really important to keep looking at that person, because when the contact breaks down, generally our eyes drop, and we're sort of looking at people's chests or other places, and they're kind of wondering if there's a spot on their shirt or how come you're looking there. And if you're doing that, they're not thinking about what you're saying. Or we rush it. You've done this. We have done this. What did you consider? Whew, that's done. So take that deep breath and slow down. And then, of course, we don't stay quiet. So I want to spend a little bit of time on just a second here on a lot of times, again, the larger the gift, this changes. But for any size, sometimes people will say, I want to think about it. And that's fair. Even if you feel you've talked about the dollar amount, they knew it was coming, sometimes, again, it kind of comes back to will you marry me? When they actually speak that question, that makes it real. That means now is decision time, yes or no. And sometimes people will say they want to think about it. I don't look at that as somebody putting me off or not wanting to do it. I look at that as they want to think about it. And I just want to be sure that I'm controlling the next step. So I can understand that you want to consider this. Let's talk next Wednesday. Should I call you in the afternoon? So you're putting a specific time. You don't leave it open. Well, call me after you thought about it. No. You set up the next follow-up. Sometimes it's also good to say, if there's any other information you need as you're looking at this, let me know. Otherwise, let's plan to talk next week. If it's yes, be sure that you don't just send them the stock thank you note and figure out, well, that's done, now on to the next one. Be creative, just as we talked about with that earlier question, and how you keep them involved in the life of the library. And I want to just say here that how we do this piece, this being a grateful recipient, is the number one piece of our success, the number one piece. The more we focus on thanking our donors, the more they want to be a part of what we're doing. So adages about asking, you rarely get the gift you don't ask for. Now, some people will say, Marcy, you know, they just told me money and I didn't even have to ask. Don't pat yourself on the back for that. That just means that they got so frustrated waiting for you to get a number out that you couldn't get out that they finally said, well, how about $5,000? That's not a positive in your regard. So if they have to finally say something, that means that you need to ask sooner. You have to earn the right to ask. And by that I mean you need to get to know that person and what they're interested in, and be positioned to speak from knowledge, not just, well, we need this money and you've got money, so how about it? And to respect them, to spend the time finding out what their specific area of interest is. And you have to balance the mindset and the methods. Yes, you still need to write thoughtful letters. Yes, you still need to do all of those things. But you have to do it from a spirit of people enjoy philanthropy and generosity. And focus on serving that donor. Focus on serving those people. It brings the whole idea of investing full circle. And when someone says yes to you, and when these exciting additions or that resource happens, there is nothing that feels as wonderful as the impact of an artful ask. So I want to close by also saying that I believe that we change our mindsets not by what we necessarily tell ourselves, but by the questions we ask ourselves. So, for example, if you listen to that mind chatter, are you saying, why can't I do this? Why am I always late? Why can't I get this done? Why am I having so much trouble with this? You know, those are all the wrong things to ask. That just has our mind and our lives focus on what we're not doing well, wrong. Instead, and especially with fundraising, some questions for you, a little bit of a bonus here. Why does money come to our operations so easily? Why am I so worthy of investments into my own professional development by myself and others? Why is it so easy for me to talk about operations support with my prospective givers, or about libraries, or about whatever you want to talk about? A lot of times people struggle with that operations piece. Why is abundance attracted to me and our library mission? Why do I take just the right steps to match prospective givers with my mission? And I love this question. Why do I have more than enough time, energy, and money? Yes. So with that, like me, tweet me, get me, link me. Isn't that crazy? But thank you. Thank you for your time today and for being part of this honorable and noble profession.
Thank you so much, Marcy. And as you can see, Marcy's information is up on your screen. If you did ask a question, if you asked a question of her and didn't get it answered, you can contact her. And as we have been saying throughout the presentation, this recording and her slide deck will be available on our website. We're hoping by the end of today, but if not today, by tomorrow. So thank you again, Marcy, for all of that great information. I want to remind all of you that tomorrow's session is on starting or revitalizing a friends group. That will be with Sally Gardner-Reed. We'll start at the same time, 12 p.m. And if you haven't registered, you still can by going to our website, withtrusteetraining.com. Again, that's withtrusteetraining.com. So I hope all of you have a great day. Thank you for listening in. Thanks again to Marcy, and I hope to see some of you here tomorrow as well. So long.